the surface of our regulated societies is a place where anything is possible. The world of fantasy. In California, a man spends half his adult life as a baby.
I don't really see it weird at all, because everybody's got something they do to relax.
In Florida, a woman plays mother to a baby made of vinyl.
You can touch them and hold them and brush their hair, and it's very fulfilling.
In Japan, men indulge in secret fantasies in a gender-bending subculture.
Nobody knows I work here. It's a total secret.
And in Florida, a man keeps two wives, one in a virtual world, the other in reality.
It is a fantasy. It's a creative outlet.
These are the strange and unsettling stories of what happens when the worlds of fantasy and reality collide. As advancing age takes its toll, many of us fantasize about being young again. But this man takes winding back the clock to the extreme.
Okay.
In Redding, California, it's mid-afternoon, and Stanley Thornton is receiving his wake-up call.
Stanley, can you get up? Stanley, wakey wakey.
I like to play or be treated as a baby.
Hi, puppy.
Just to get the love and affection, safeness. Basically, just go back to a time where you're caring for a 1 or 2 year old, and that's what it is for me.
Okay.
29-year-old Stanley spends around half his life pretending to be an infant. He calls himself an adult baby.
With being an adult baby, I've had a couple different reactions, some good, some not so good. I've had some people that are perfectly fine with it, and I've had others that are just angry, like they think that it's an automatic that you're a pedophile because you're into it.
Actually, you need to cut your ears and get too nice up and look like a little girl.
Stanley shares a house with former nurse Sandra Diaz. She's not Stanley's mother, but she's happy to play that role.
I love him like he's my favorite nephew. He's like my family member who lost his mother, and it's like I'm the aunt stepping in saying, it's okay, I'm still here for you.
To step into Stanley and Sandra's modest home is to enter a fantasy world. A world where a grown-up man plays with building blocks, sucks on a dummy, is spoon-fed, uses baby talk, even Spinelli. It's a life of pure make-believe.
I think our cultural norms tell us that we're supposed to be babies, and then we grow up and we go through teenage and then we become adults, you know, and if somebody is trying to jump back, then that feels uncomfortable and people feel threatened by something that's out of the ordinary.
When he leaves the house, Stanley switches to adult mode. This afternoon, he's at a hardware store, buying wood for an upcoming DIY project, a supersized high chair.
The high chair started 2 years ago as a small project. I've been working on the plans for about a year and a half. So I wanted to create something that was modular and could hold my weight, so I'm not exactly a little guy.
Stanley's already customized other baby furniture to make his fantasy life feel more real.
This is my nursery and this is my crib. It took me about a day to build it and another day to paint it. This particular side goes up and down, the other one's stationary. I like it, it's very comfortable, it's easy to get into the baby feel while you're in it. There's nothing else like it waking up in a crib.
Stanley knows many people might regard his lifestyle as bordering on insanity. There was a time when he would have agreed with them.
I started getting into it when I was about 14. The first thought is you start thinking you're crazy, because this isn't normal. Or at least that's what you think. And you're thinking you're the only one that's doing it. And then you get down the road and you start getting on a computer and you're like, wow, there's all these other people that are doing it. And then you find the name for it.
The name for Stanley's lifestyle is infantilism. For some participants, it's a kind of fetish. But Stanley's motivation to be a baby is not sexual.
For some people, being an adult baby is a sexual fetish for them. However, for most of us, it's just, you're doing it to relax. You come home from work and, you change into baby mode and, you put away all your adult stuff. Everything gets on hold.
Stanley is not delusional. Rather, he's made a conscious choice to role-play as a baby as a form of therapy.
Many people like being a baby because it provides them an escape from everyday normal life. They will tell you that life is too stressful, there is too much technology, there's too much overstimulation, there are too many demands placed on me, I can't handle it. And the way that many of us may go lie down, take a nap, may watch a movie to escape from our everyday stresses, adult babies choose to go to this fantasy life to get away from it all.
But Stanley doesn't have a hectic job or a fast-paced life. The stresses he's escaping are not in the present, they're in his past.
I had abuse at home. Most times I'd curl up into a ball and just wait for it to be over. My younger past I don't have memory of. Maybe it was like amnesia from abuse or something that was blocked out.
Stanley's history of abuse is so severe, he's been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder.
From talking with Stanley, I recognized that throughout his life he was cast off and rejected, and that there have been several traumatic experiences that he had. He came out feeling less secure and less able to cope in the world because of those experiences.
As a grown-up, Stanley's found a way to cope by dressing up and acting as a baby. He sees it as a chance to experience the kind of childhood he never had.
Being an adult baby brings me a lot of peace and calm. It lets me forget what's happened and try to pretend like, okay, I'm a kid again, we're starting over fresh, this stuff isn't going to happen, and that's another life. And so when I'm role-playing like that, I'm picturing myself as a different kid and different place, different circumstances, and I try to create that happy life,
Comfy?
Always.
Psychiatrists believe people who have suffered childhood trauma sometimes regress to a time before the emotional damage occurred.
A cow jumped over the moon. As a psychiatrist, I often see people regressing to earlier times in their life, a sort of Garden of Eden when there was no threat, there was no danger. Often people regress to a stage pre-trauma, mostly because the trauma has caused some insult or some injury that they've not been able to progress beyond that milestone.
Despite spending half his waking hours as a baby, in adult mode, Stanley is an accomplished handyman.
Getting the high chair done has been a key thing for me because it's an essential part of the furniture, and it's a lot of excitement because it's one more thing that you get to play with and get more immersed into the lifestyle with.
I'm with the baby kid had a baby messing himself.
At meal times, Stanley reverts to baby mode.
And we're doing banana strawberry today, which I know is one of your faves.
He used to have a dedicated adult baby mummy called Pam, but when she died in 2004, her friend Sandra took over.
We have a good life. We both have background problems that we have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. For him, part of being an adult baby is stress relief. So that's good for him. My stress relief part of it is I like doing the nurturing. That makes me feel better. So, we both get something out of it.
Stanley and Sandra both receive disability benefits. In their spare time, they run an adult baby website for over 1,500 members worldwide. Their aim is to offer support and break down misconceptions about the adult baby lifestyle.
So Stanley's site, our youngest member is 9 years old, and our oldest is 92. It's really great if we can just help just one person. It's like you have a 25-year-old saying, I've had these feelings for years. What's wrong with me? And I tell him, there's nothing wrong with you. Oh, Stanley! Dinner time! Get ready! Would you like shaker cheese? Yes, please.
Stanley's ability to flip in and out of babyhood may make some people uneasy.
Thank you.
But he sees this fantasy life as preferable to the coping mechanisms others indulge in.
There's a lot of things that people do to escape their problems, drugs, alcohol, and whatnot. With adult baby, you're not getting drunk, you're not going to go out and beat somebody, you're not going to overdose. So, of all the ways to de-stress, relax, and try to forget, it's one of the safest. It doesn't hurt anybody, it doesn't hurt you, and of course it's not illegal.
Puppy ready for bed?
Yep.
Stanley Thornton has reached the end of another day. For him and his willing accomplice, the fantasy continues to the very end.
Close your eyes and start to yawn. Picture an adult man laying in a crib with his puppy, his little stuffed dog, smile on his face, asleep. It is so cute. Sweet dreams, puppy. Sweet dreams, Daddy. Good night. It's just a joy to see him with a smile on his face, because he's been through a lot. He deserves a little happiness in his life.
But what if your desire wasn't to be a baby, but to be a mother? They look like any ordinary family on holiday, but all is not as it seems. A month ago, 37-year-old Sharon Gregg welcomed a new arrival. She weighed 7 pounds 6 ounces and was named Emma Lee.
My husband says she looks like me. She's just very special. Having her in my arms and sitting in the chair, it helps to calm me down. It helps just to, and let all that stuff go from the day.
But Sharon isn't a new mother, and her little bundle of joy isn't a baby. It's a lifelike vinyl doll called a reborn.
I had found a reborn on the internet, and I fell in love, and I wanted to have one. You can touch them and hold them and brush their hair, and it's very fulfilling.
Sharon already has a flesh and blood family, husband Ed and stepson Dennis.
Hello.
At first they found the reborn dolls plain weird.
I come home one day and she came. What came? And she pointed over to the side of the house. I look over there. There's a baby staring right at me. I was like, "Whoa!"
As Sharon's collection grew, so too did acceptance from Dennis and Ed. Now they even take the fake babies on family outings.
It's really fun to take the babies out. It's changed a lot because the dolls are actually a big part of what we do in the day.
Oh, you sleeping. Alright guys, how we doing today? What kind of food?
A lot of people will approach me and say, "Oh, how old is your little girl?" or "How old is your little boy?" or "Oh, he's a little happy boy because Jacob is smiling."
What's that one they're giggling about?
Oh, he's just a happy one.
Sharon and her family enjoy the attention, perhaps in part because Sharon never had the chance to do this with a real baby.
I have wanted to have children. There was a while ago, maybe about 5 years ago, where I could not get that thought out of my head. I wanted to give my mom and dad a grandchild.
Then doctors told Sharon she would never conceive.
I thought I wasn't a woman not being able to have children.
Yet being infertile doesn't stop a woman's maternal instinct. So experts believe women sometimes turn to baby substitutes to fulfill their need to nurture.
Collecting reborn dolls for many women really is about having a baby as opposed to having a doll. There is something that is missing in their life. They absolutely are trying to fill a void. I think it does fill that gap somewhat of not being able to have children. I guess every woman has a maternal instinct, so maybe that does play a part. My husband does. He's like, the way you change the baby, you're acting like it's a real child, not like it's a doll.
We talked about fostering and we talked about adopting. It just wasn't feasible for us to do. So this was just one way to fill that void for her.
Alright guys, here we go.
But many are not amused by the family that tries to pass off fake babies as real. They consider this unusual fantasy life unacceptable.
Some people are angry that they were fooled, and that's a mean joke to play on people. And I try to explain to them it's not a joke. I'm not doing it intentionally to hurt anyone.
Alright guys, you need anything, let me know.
Thank you.
The angry reaction probably comes because of a sense of deception. Probably, you see a baby in a stroller and you smile at the baby, and then you realize that you've been hoodwinked. And we don't like to be deceived, so that might be what leads to the anger.
You can tell.
Though these public forays may appear to be pure attention-seeking, Sharon and her family say they are simply a way to promote her small business. In the last 2 years, Sharon has made over 50 reborn dolls for customers worldwide.
I actually have 5 babies in Australia. And I have one in Brazil, one in England, and then the rest of them are here in the US.
Today, Sharon is making a doll on commission for a regular customer called Chrissy.
she has to make him into a little boy. It's nicer when you know who the new mommy is going to be, because then I can make it more personal and pour myself into it that much more.
The process of reborning means giving a factory-made doll more realistic features. Because of the skill and time required, Sharon charges up to $500 for a single doll.
It's a really fulfilling art form that brings me joy, and then I can bring joy to other people's lives when they buy them.
But not everyone finds Sharon's creations appealing.
Some people, they'll be literally disgusted and creeped out.
It looks so real.
But I try to make them look as real as I can.
That's just scary. It's scary. It's very scary. Very scary. A little crazy weird, yeah, I think so. A tad. Without saying, I feel bad talking about a baby, but it's not real, right? It's kind of scary.
The dolls often arouse a creepy feeling, a concept referred to as the uncanny.
The uncanny is an interesting emotion that has not been studied very much, but it was looked at by a Japanese roboticist who noticed that the more and more lifelike his robots got, the more people liked them, up to a point. But when they became too lifelike, they fell into what he called the uncanny valley. It's important to us to know who's alive, what's familiar, what's foreign to us, and anything that is almost perfect but not quite. It elicits that eerie feeling in us of the uncanny.
With her favorite doll, Emma Lee, in the baby seat, Sharon arrives at Chrissy Butler's house.
We're looking forward to getting together with our babies and just sharing some Dolly sister time. We're looking forward to it.
In the box is Jacob, the reborn Chrissy has commissioned for her doll collection. Sharon is nervous because in the past, Chrissy has rejected dolls she didn't feel an instant bond with.
So cute. She did confide to me the other day that she's actually bought a couple of reborns. She's never had a connection with them. So she ended up reselling them. So I'm kind of nervous. I'm hoping she'll have a connection with Jacob and won't want to get rid of him.
Emily's watching too?
Yes, she is.
Yeah, in her sleep.
Dreaming about Jacob's birthday.
Jacob, oh, it looks so cute. Oh, snuggly. Oh, look how adorable he is.
Chrissy can't have children of her own. As she cradles her new doll, she's acting just like a new mother.
He's adorable. Oh, you're such an... Isn't he?
Experts believe that's because reborns trigger similar brain responses to real babies.
Many women will tell you that reborn dolls are able to elicit a warm feeling, a safe feeling, a cuddly feeling with their babies. And one of the theories might be that oxytocin, which is a neurotransmitter that's released when a woman is actually cuddling or breastfeeding a real baby, is also released in circumstances where a woman perceives the reborner to be her own baby.
Hey, you! Say hi to Emily!
Fate determined that these two women could never be mothers, but in reborn dolls, they've found a way to indulge maternal instincts that would otherwise be unfulfilled. Experts believe so long as they stay attached to reality and continue to forge human relationships, their fantasy lives won't do any harm.
I'm not hurting anyone, and if it makes me happy, that's really what matters.
But what if the only way you could be happy was to have a fantasy life as the opposite sex? Japan is known for its conservative and conformist culture. But some are escaping the stereotype to a place where genders are blurred and reality collides with fantasy. 26-year-old Yuichiro Nagashima is a rising star of Japanese kickboxing. In the ring, he's an aggressive fighter known as Jianotsu. He's proved himself as a tough welterweight, a man who can take the hits and deal them out. In the grueling K1 circuit, Jianotsu is ranked 8th in the world.
If you are in the K1 ring, you are definitely a good fighter. You have given everything to be there in that ring, so as a result, you get respect.
But before every fight, Jianotsu has an unusual routine. He visits a tiny store in an outlying suburb of Tokyo, a place where he can indulge his more feminine side.
I feel like I can become the character and I can forget about my real life for a little bit. And more than anything, I really enjoy this. I love it.
Though Jianotsu is a champion kickboxer, he considers that just a hobby. His real interest in life is the subculture known as cosplay, dressing and role-playing as female characters from Japanese animation.
I can wear anything that I like here, but I want to choose my favorite characters. I don't want to wear just anything. If it's not a character you like, you won't be able to become that character when you wear their costume.
The term cosplay is a combination of two English words, costume and play. Its participants try to emulate the characters from Japanese comic books and animated films, known as anime.
Anime is huge. It's like Hollywood cinema. It's just an enormous media creation. 40-50% of Japanese television and movies are animated. And these are very beloved series and very beloved characters. And people identify with all different kinds of characters and they love to dress up like them.
In conservative Western culture, when adults dress up and play make-believe, it is often seen as childish.
Many societies, in fact, look at it as taboo to participate in fantasy lives for the reason that we are expected to be high-functioning adults. Some people may say that fantasy lives is a way of denying the status quo, of denying reality. And some may go as far as to say that it is borderline delusional.
But in Japan, Jianotsu doesn't see it that way. His tiny home pays homage to his achievements as a kickboxer and to anime in equal measure.
People ask me, why do you like cosplay? It's because I love animation, and I want you to know anime is wonderful. You can see how obsessed with it I am.
Jianotsu says he would never cosplay in the streets of Tokyo because he's concerned about how people would react. But he has found a way to combine his two passions by cosplaying in the boxing ring.
When I enter, I do a cosplay entrance performance. This is to show how much I love animation. I enter the ring in the costume, but underneath I wear kickboxing pants. So I take off this cosplay outfit in the ring, and then I start fighting.
The masculine arena of Jianotsu's chosen sport seems directly at odds with his passion for dressing up as female anime characters, and it's brought him considerable criticism.
Some people think I'm weird because I'm into cosplay, and then doubly weird because I cosplay as a female character. Then of course, some people say, "Are you gay?"
Around the world, to blow blur the line between male and female is to break one of the most powerful taboos. But while cross-dressing and transgenderism are often aligned with homosexuality, Gianotsu isn't gay and says his desire to dress up is not a fetish. The reason he chooses female outfits is because those are the characters that resonate for him.
I cannot love male characters. I always love the female characters in mangas. For example, one particular character rules the world without knowing it. That's the kind of character I like.
Some people might see cross-dressing in cosplay as an extreme form of fandom. I think it's more of a devotion to the character that you like, that you enjoy, and having a certain degree of courage, actually, to dress as the other gender is a factor in there.
But in the bizarre world of Japanese cosplay, Gianotsu isn't the only one crossing the gender line. On an ordinary afternoon in Tokyo's Akihabara district, a fantasy world is being created. Stockings are pulled up, skirts zipped, lacy aprons tied, and high heels buckled. It's a transformation that occurs before every shift at this cafe staffed entirely by men.
I'm a university student. I sometimes dress as a man, sometimes dress as a woman, but I'm straight. I'm not gay. This is one of the very few places where straight men are allowed to work dressed as women.
Maid cafes with female waitresses have been a popular attraction in Akihabara for the past decade. But those staffed by men are a relatively new phenomenon. When the owner of this cafe held an audition for new maids, over 100 applications were received from men. Junior Fujieda was the only one who got the job.
I was a customer first, and I was always begging them to hire me. Then I won this job in the audition, so I was really happy.
Like the costumes worn by cosplayers, these maid outfits have their origin in animation. The animated tale of a cute, apron-wearing waitress called Pia Carrot is believed to have inspired the maid cafe phenomenon. Rather than being disturbed by men wearing provocative dresses, many female customers admit to feeling attracted.
I've been coming here for the last 2 years. I'm a big fan of Kia. He's a maid here and I'm more like his stalker. I don't think it's strange to see men wearing skirts because it suits them and they look great in them.
Though cross-dressing for entertainment is still considered unusual in Japan, it doesn't carry the same stigma that it might in many Western nations. Experts believe this may be partly due to the centuries-old tradition of men playing female roles in kabuki theatre.
In kabuki theater, you have the tradition of the onagata, which are men who portray female roles. They usually do this for their entire career. They focus on just that type of role. And these actors can be highly respected. This is a great example of cross-dressing in traditional Japanese entertainment.
Despite this long tradition, to some in Japan, cross-dressing remains taboo. So some male maids go to extreme lengths to keep their fantasy life secret. This man wished to have his identity concealed, but agreed to tell his story.
In my everyday life, I work in an IT company, and I dress up as a man. Nobody knows I also work here. It's a total secret. After working as a maid one day, I threw my stockings in the trunk of my car. My girlfriend found them and confronted me. I couldn't bear to tell her the truth, that I had been working as a male maid, so I said, "I'm sorry, I've been cheating on you." We ended up breaking up.
Yet he continues to risk having his fantasy life exposed for the chance to walk a mile in someone else's shoes.
I enjoy dressing up as a woman because I feel completely different things than when I am a man. It's a chance to experience another life.
In what is often seen as a very formal society, these fantasy lives offer the chance to take a break from reality without entirely breaking the rules.
Japan is a highly conformist, highly pressured society in certain ways. People still work incredibly hard. They are expected to behave in certain conventional ways. And cosplay is this kind of marvelous way of sort of blowing off steam, getting out of the pressure cooker for a little while. It's just a kind of part of an affluent society that wants something a little bit more than just working hard and behaving conventionally all the time.
But what if your fantasy was to escape to a virtual world where there are no rules and no consequences? Kevin Alderman is a loving father and a devoted husband. He's also one of the biggest players in the world of cybersex.
I can be sexy, I can be salacious, I can be things that in real life would be frowned upon.
In the subtropical suburbs of Florida, Kevin Alderman appears to be a regular father.
If you've got a high angle of attack, that means that
he helps with homework,
up high like this,
household chores, and spends quality time with his 2 children and his wife.
I tend to be, in real life, very family-oriented, very conservative.
But when his family goes to bed, Kevin transports himself to a fantasy world. Here, he's a self-proclaimed sex god, a strutting Lothario in a virtual world where some say nothing is taboo. It's called Second Life.
Second Life is a virtual world, and what that means is that it's a 3-dimensional graphical environment, accessible through the web, that is persistent. It doesn't reset. There's no new game that starts. It just keeps going on and on and on, like life.
Second Life was invented in 2003 by game developers Linden Lab. It's not so much a game as an alternative universe. There are no rules and no objectives. Users can interact by voice or text and can create as they please.
The platform is a blank canvas. You have to fill it in with the paint of your choice. You have to build the environment based upon, what it is that compels you, that excites you, that motivates you.
To access this virtual world, Kevin has created a proxy version of himself, an avatar called Stroker Serpentine. Every day, Stroker interacts with other avatars controlled by any of the 20 million Second Life users worldwide. Much of that interaction includes virtual sex.
Stroker is an extension of Kevin. He may be a little more boisterous, a little more of a daredevil, of an innovator. Stroker is a laissez-faire portion of my psyche that I don't get to explore as Kevin. I can be sexy. I can be salacious. I can be things that in real life would be frowned upon.
It's lunchtime, and Kevin is sharing a meal with his wife Debbie, son Sam, and daughter Elena. But when the dishes are cleared away, Kevin spends time with his other family.
He has a virtual family. He has a virtual wife. He has virtual daughters. He has very close friends, relationships that have been developed over many, many years online.
Stroker's virtual wife is Fire Rain, an avatar controlled by a woman in Texas. Stroker has online sex with Fire, and even with his virtual daughters.
And that would be taboo in real life. However, it is a fantasy. It is, it's a creative outlet.
Second Life may be a fantasy world, but many wives consider online sex cheating. But not Kevin's wife, Debbie.
It's okay to me as long as it's not in my face. It's an avatar. It's not Kevin doing those things. There's a big difference. I would not want him being a porn star in a movie. No, absolutely not. I'd be gone. Absolutely. And I think he knows that. There's a big difference.
In Tampa, Florida, Kevin Alderman is in Second Life.
It looks like a heart. It looks like a heart with wings.
Having virtual sex with his virtual daughter, but he's not breaking the law. His virtual family are not related to him by blood, and each of the avatars is controlled by a consenting adult. Even so, to many his behavior is questionable.
You look great. I like the black streaks in your hair.
I think for his avatar to have sex with his online children is clearly to break a taboo and violate a moral code, but our moral codes really relate to our conduct in the real world. So I don't think you can say that he is breaking that code. Through Second Life, you can actually break all these taboos, but you're not really harming anyone because you're not really doing it.
Though Kevin's activities in Second Life aren't real, they can trigger powerful, real emotions, even love.
I do love my online family. I love them very much. They're very present in my life because I spend a considerable amount of time online, and I listen to their difficulties. I listen to their joys, their highs and lows, and we share with each other. It's that bond that keeps us wanting to log in every day.
Many would wonder why a man who seemingly has it all needs to spend so much time in a virtual world. But Kevin wouldn't have any of the trappings of real-world success if it weren't for his fantasy life. His hobby is also his lucrative career.
I'm very fortunate in that Second Life afforded me the ability to completely remodel my home, to build a home office so that I have all the conveniences at my fingertips. I look out over my pool. I don't punch a time card. I don't have a boss standing over me saying, "Get this done now."
Kevin has made millions of dollars as a Second Life animator. He uses motion capture technology to create lifelike animations and design cybersex-related products that are sold in his virtual showroom. Kevin even has a virtual marketing team called Stroker's Girls. Though the currency exchanged is Linden dollars, it equates to real money.
Stroker is one of the greatest success stories because he's created objects inside of Second Life
that people really like and value and are willing to pay a lot of lindens for, and that translates into a lot of US dollars. One of Kevin's best-selling products is an animated sex bed, but his success has come at a price. Some have labeled him a pornographer.
Here's my character. If you think that a marital aid is pornography, then I guess you could make the same correlation. But it is a device. I am not portraying a video recreation of a love scene. I'm providing a file of bits and bytes that animate an avatar in provocative sexual situations.
Though many might have difficulty juggling reality and fantasy, Kevin believes his life functions better this way.
I'm a very happy family man. Very few parents get to have the amount of time with their children that I do on a daily basis. I adore my wife. She's extremely supportive of all the decisions I've made. Sometimes she doesn't know what to make of it, and sometimes, she lets me know that she doesn't like it. But she understands I have to take time to be stroker, to let my hair down, to sow those oats. And I think that my marriage in biological space is stronger for it.
To many, these lives of make-believe may seem odd, but by inhabiting a fantasy world, some feel more able to cope in the real one.
Brand new Extreme Lives continues with Tales of Prison Love next Wednesday at 9.